Okay, I'm going to reintroduce the Power Statz, a baseball stat that I had developed along with the RPA back in 1980 to 82. Earliest publication I have right here is in 1982, March 1982, and we talked about baseball stats that could get the Tigers into the pennant. In the booklet, the first full booklet I printed in 1983, we did a couple cable shows with this on it. In 85, 86, we introduced stats that went through each game of the Tigers for 1983, and also had a player listing of what each player in the starting lineups for every team in baseball did during the first half of the 1983 season. In 82 and 83, we said the Tigers were losing any chance of getting in the playoffs and any chance of a World Series at first base. That particular subject was covered under Sleeping Giants. You can get a close-up of that. Just get the part that says Sleeping Giants. You got that? Somewhere. Okay. And later on, in 1984, the Tigers hadn't gotten a free agent in years. They only had one previous to that, I think. They went out and got Darrell Evans. He went at first base, became a dominant hitter, hit 30-some home runs. A couple years later, after the age of 40, hit 40 home runs, one of the few players to do that. But anyways, in 1984, the Tigers did go on not only to start out 35-5, but went on with the #1 power stats in baseball. They happen to have the #1 earned run average, which we will prove later on that earned run averages follow power stats. Power stats do not follow earned run averages. You got a good hitting lineup, your pitchers have extra runs, they have a lot more confidence and a lot more ability to win ball games. There is another subject that came up here, and that was the great coincidence corollary. We'll talk about that another time. The Tigers won the pennant, but there were 5 great coincidences that took place. As a matter of fact, I also resummarized that in the 1989 booklet, and none of it had to do with Sparky Anderson. It had to do with Bill LaJoy. We'll come back to that one. The third thing that I would like to talk about here is that the power stats went dormant for 15 years while I was fighting multiple sclerosis and a couple other autoimmune illnesses. You don't need to be bored with that detail, but finally in 2005 and 2006, I developed an exercise, got off my canes and off my butt, and I went to thinking I would get back to sending out these stats. The last thing I had printed was or published was in 1989-90. The team to pick was the problem. I always would pick a bottom team or somebody not winning, and the team I picked was the Cubs. It was more out of loyalty to the good times during all the multiple sclerosis that Harry Carey and Steve Stone provided on WGN. And so I said the Cubs. You know, the Cubbies haven't won anything. 2004, the Boston Red Sox won with the #1 power stats, and I sent this information to the Cubs, thinking that I would get a listening ear. Well, I got a listening ear because they went from worst in 2006 to first place in the division in 2007, and in 2008 they not only had the best record in the National League, I will show you how they had the best record in baseball. That being said, Mr. Henry, who I sent the information to, hey, dude, on the door is a little tab, and it's right above the doorknob. I forgot to bring this over. All that stuff. The next thing up too. All right, I had this ready and I forgot to bring it over. In 2005, I sent. Well, all I know is it cost about $20 to get it there. And this was addressed to Mr. Jim Henry, and whatever's SKOCZ in some other name, which I cannot fathom what it means, starts with an S. They received this on July 28th, 2005, according to the United States Postal Service. How dependable that is used for validating things, I don't know. The other thing that took place was I would call on the phone and talk to actually Andy McPhail's secretary on repeated occasions. I never got an answer in 2005. The fact is that they didn't solicit the information. They owed me nothing. In 2006, though, I put a website on showing all the information that I had sent to Jim Henry. I turned around and in 2007 watched the Cubs use my stats, and I know either that or Jim Henry was hit in the head from the Starship Enterprise and an alien had popped off and told him something, because he went from 4 to 5 power stats in 2005 to getting Soriano, Soto, and some others, and in 2007 he entered with 6 power stats players, and he took his division. And then in 2008 he went to 9. I do not recall a team having 9 power stats in all the years I've kept records, and they went on to the best record in baseball. I have plenty of witnesses to this effect, and have printed material that will also back this up. This is the end of the first segment, but to you baseball owners, if you have a last place team, and especially Pittsburgh, who hasn't been, I don't think, over 516 years, I believe I read, Pittsburgh, Kansas City, Cincinnati, I'm trying to think of a couple other teams, you will not and cannot win without my stats. And so you'll be updated in the near future on how to obtain my stats.